the Senate Committee on Science and Technology. We're going to convene for consideration of House Bill 147. There is a committee substitute. The committee sub today is LC 590161S. 590161S. And with that, Chair would like to recognize the bill's author, Representative Thomas. And if you could take your place, we're going to talk through the sub. And again, this was the sub that is before the committee was worked on by the chair. The representative and his Senate sponsor, Senator Albers, wanted to kind of work together the versions they had. The Senate Bill 37 was the underlying Senate bill. There was a definition in Senate Bill 37 that we used, but much of this is going to come from Senate Bill 147. So if you can think about what passed the House is the baseline with some additional scope added to engage local governments with sort of a light touch, but in a way that creates public awareness. There's also a Section 3 that deals also in Title 50 with the Attorney General's office on a separate issue, but that's still, again, within Title 50 within state government. We're going to talk about that. Chair will present the details of that here momentarily. But Representative Thomas, I'll give you just a quick second to give folks who are here for the first time an overview of your intent for the bill, and then the chair will talk through some of the provisions that we changed in the sub.
Is it on? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate your work with the House Subcommittee on Artificial Intelligence and the Senate Study Committee on Artificial Intelligence and your work on that with us. And the fact that I have to tell you, I think it was really refreshing to see that just all the joint meetings, even though it wasn't a joint committee, but we did work together quite a bit and then went our own ways and came back with some stuff, maybe different versions of certain things. This is one of those where the House, what we had in the House and the Senate, I would say companion, because I don't want to say but I would just call it companion legislation. We just kind of took a little bit of a different tack at trying to solve the same problem. Again, Senator Albers and I have worked very, very closely on this, and so he, I know, wanted to incorporate some of the language from his bill, which was
Senate Bill 37.
Thank you, Senate Bill 37. And I'm supportive of the changes. I'm supportive of what it is that we're the substitute. And I'd be more than happy to answer the questions to the best of my ability.
Well, if it's the chair's going to take the opportunity to kind of walk through the committee sub items. Again, these are some things that was in 147, some things that Senator Albers brought they thought could be some enhancements that were part of the intention of Senate Bill 37. So walking through those to give everyone sort of an overview of that. If you look at the sub LC 590161S, lines 20 through 24 are sort of administratively necessary. What these lines do, in essence, is in Code Section 5025.4. Those are the overarching powers of the Georgia Technology Authority. It adds to the list of 32 things the Technology Authority is in statute directed to do. It adds the actions of this bill. So it's not only is it in 5025.7.9 the bill itself, it also adds to the list of responsibilities the Technology Authority, again, to establish model policies and procedures for all government entities. Not rulemaking power, but to say this is a set of best practices for managing and procuring AI. So that's being added to their responsibilities, and then also to provide for the receipt and public disclosure of AI inventories for government entities. They're going to maintain a website for themselves starting this year. You'll see in this bill, here's all the AI systems that the state government uses. And that same platform will be used 2 years later to receive information from locals about, hey, here's an inventory for, Morgan County and Cobb County and the city of Duluth and Kennesaw. So there'll be one place that folks can go see an inventory of AI systems that are being used, and that's being done as a service to municipalities and counties. They don't have to maintain some separate place for this. They can just here's what we've got. It can kind of be in one place, and it intends to minimize the impact on locals. Stepping through lines 32 through 38, this definition of artificial intelligence, something that the author, Representative Thomas, wanted to do. This is the definition that was in Senate Bill 37. Again, what this does is it makes sure that artificial intelligence is defined in the code in the same way throughout the code.
Yeah.
So this is just creating alignment. It's different than what came across from the House, but this now provides alignment across, in other parts of the code where AI is referenced. Page 3 of the bill, starting line 43. These are really the three sections. If you can look, line 43, line 53, and line 57. There's a set of actions that are going to happen no later than December 31st of 25. Another set of actions December 31st of 26, and another set of actions on December 31st, 2027. Previous versions kind of compressed that timeline. This eased that timeline out, so there's more time to do this. We want to make sure this is done well, not quickly. December 31st, 2025. This is kind of the core of the original SB or HB 147. It directs the Technology Authority to do an inventory of AI systems in use by state departments or agencies, and publish that on a website. What ways is state government using AI? In this, again, we kept the list of things, what's got to be shown in this inventory. We kept it pretty narrow. Again, name of the system, description of the general capabilities of the system, the manner in which it is able to make independent decisions or informed decisions, and then in the manner in which it was given an impact assessment. How was there just a little short overview of how management talked about pros and cons. We're not prescribing that. The Technology Authority will flesh that out. But just, hey, public, what's being used, what's its capability, and what thought process went into place before it was put into place. That's all that's being directed here for the agency. The intention being a very, very light touch. By 2026, this is something that Senator Albers was wanting to accomplish in Senate Bill 37, added to this, and it directs the Georgia Technology Authority to develop a set of model policies and procedures. One thing that's for use just not by state agencies, but also by local governments. What it does do, if you'll see there on line 56, the model policies and procedures concerning the development, procurement, implementation, utilization of AI for use at the discretion of government entities. So it's still going to be the sole discretion of cities and counties how they use their AI, and even how they would even use these model policies. It's the sole discretion of cities and counties. This is not prescriptive, but it does give the Technology Authority the responsibility to post these standards, which we think cities and counties will very likely use as guidelines, albeit non-binding. And then lastly, on December 31st of 27, again, this bill doesn't try to change practices. It simply tries to shine light and disclose. It says, beginning in the end of the year 2027, local governments will share with Technology Authority, here's the AI systems we're using, so the public knows what's being used in our communities, whether it's an AI answering system, whether it's an AI system that's doing evaluations and actually helping make decisions. The thinking here is, this is a transformative enough technology. The public at least needs to know what's going on, and the Technology Authority will be the place where that is hosted and shown for any level of government in Georgia to minimize the impact on locals. So that's really what the bill does. That's lines 43 through 68. There is a section 3 I can talk about as a separate section. It's doing different things. So let me stop there. Again, as a committee sub that's bringing together elements from Senate Bill 37, House Bill 147, are there any questions by the author, members of the committee, about the sub and what's in it in general, or the details?
If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
on the original bill, there was it was line 33. It was which was under the December 31st, 2026, develop and establish policies. One of them was the procurement implementation and ongoing assessment of such systems by agencies. I was just curious. It looks like, I think you incorporated all the spirit. I just wanted to make sure that we maybe didn't miss that. I don't have I can give you the original exact language, or maybe we can talk to legal counsel here to see. Yeah, thank you. That was probably the only thing.
What is the difference? What are the components you're saying are not present in the substitute?
Well, Section 2 of the original bill under the December 31st, 2026 had developed established policies, procedures concerning the development, procurement, implementation, utilization, ongoing assessment of systems that employ artificial intelligence that are used by agencies. Such policies and procedures shall, at a minimum, govern the procurement, implementation, and ongoing assessment of such systems by agencies. And B, ensure that no such system results in any unlawful discrimination against any individual or group of individuals. I was just trying to make sure that that was something that was kind of important to a couple members on my side of the.
Yeah, I think the issue is, I think you're wading into a legal quagmire if you say, what is the basis in which a AI system is discriminating against some that is a whole.
Okay.
It's a whole nother realm of law. What is discrimination? What does it mean? What's the context? That's a whole. I don't think that is a year-long study committee and session just to address that one issue. The breadth of that. I was concerned about that. I think it becomes an existential risk to your bill, just to try to take that on, the scope of it.
That was my only question. Outside of that,
and again, I think it's implicit in these impact assessments. If that potential exists, that could be looked at. I just to say enumerate that in code as a positive duty without defining what that means. It's just that's outside the scope of what we would take on here in this committee.
Okay.
Any questions from committee members? Okay, hearing none, let me jump down, direct everybody to Section 3 here. This is the other piece. This deals also with state government. This is an addition that relates to the financing of government bonds, tax-exempt bonds, specifically for state charter school facilities. There's a circumstance in at least one of our municipalities where the State Charter Commission saw fit that a public charter school, a state charter school would be approved, but there was no provision for the state to also address the provisions of federal law that require both a executive agency TEFRA hearing and a judicial bond validation hearing. The judicial bond validation hearing is not an issue. The state TEFRA hearing is a circumstance where an executive agency needs to validate the lawfulness of the purposes, and what this does is it allows the Attorney General's office to do that. So for state-approved entities, it allows a state entity to exercise to validate that these purposes are legitimate. As the attorney for the state, it's natural that's the case. Federal law contemplates an Attorney General's office in a state can do this. We're just clarifying the Attorney General here in this code section. The Attorney General in Georgia may do that for these circumstances. Glad to take questions. Hearing none, Chair recognizes Senator Eccles.
Did I miss, where was this bill, this came from what previous legislation?
Yeah, this came from a separate legislative effort. There was a bill moving across to the House. They're going to add this to. It moved out of House committee faster than expected and wasn't able to get added to that. Because this is a Title 50 provision, state government, as opposed to Title 20, we're adding that here. Anybody here want to speak to this section? Got counsel here that's can answer questions if there are some. Mr. Fortson. So, any questions for Mr. Fortson? Okay. Question? Okay. I'm going to give the author the last word. But before that, if there's a question, I want to make sure we're taking time to hear it. And I do think we've got a cleanup amendment for the counties on the underlying language in Section 2. Section 2? Yep. And again, if the chair needs to explain Section 3 in more detail, I'm happy to do that for members. Chair recognizes Senator Wicks for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there is a question with line 78 through 80 in reference to the charter school facilities. We're just trying to get a clarity on.
Yeah. What this means is this relates to a commission charter school. Mm-hmm. We've got a state charter school commission. That was passed by state constitutional amendment a number of years ago. And for local school boards that approve charter schools, their city or development authority locally holds this hearing to validate that the building that's going to be built is being used for a public purpose. There's got to be a separate entity that says, you know what, this is a nonprofit purpose, it's a public charter school, and that this building that's being built is being used for this charter school. It's a check and balance in our federal, in the IRS code to make sure that you can't go get a tax-exempt bond to finance a hospital or a building at Emory University or a public charter school, which is a public purpose, nonprofit purpose. It makes sure that some for-profit entity can't go do that. Okay. So locals do that at the local level. What we don't have is, even though IRS law contemplates attorneys general can do this at the state level, we've never specifically given the Attorney General the power in Georgia to do that, and that's what we're doing here. So for a state-approved charter school that has, say, a statewide attendance zone, there may be kids in 5 or 6 or 10 counties, is it appropriate that the city that it's in or the county development authority should have the sole authority to determine whether it's a public use? What this says is it's a state-approved charter school. There should be a state actor, in this case, the Attorney General, to validate that this isn't some fraudulent use.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll give the author the last word.
Like I said, I just want to reiterate the fact that I enjoyed working with you all and over the off season to really pull together all this AI legislation from the previous year. So we took some, I think, really good ideas, grew those ideas, and we did what we do best and put it on a piece of paper and setting good policy for the state of Georgia. So I appreciate the hearing today.
I think there was, in some quarters, there was disappointment this didn't go further and do more. But I do think we do well to step carefully.
I agree. I tell everybody, it's not about what you mean to do down here. It's about the unintended consequences of some of the things that we deal with. And there's nothing wrong with informed decision making. So I'm okay with moving things a little slow if that means that we're making the right decision at the end of the day. And I feel like that's what we've done here. Some
folks wanted this legislature to act and do stuff and mandate things. Other states have tried that. This is simply a disclosure bill. What AI is being used by government entities. That's all this really does.
Exactly. And transparency is everything. If we can't operate a transparent government, then that's where I think the breakdown of democracy starts. So, and I think this is the upcoming technology. This is not like a lot of things where it's a fad. AI is going to integrate into our government. It's going to integrate it pretty much into every facet of our life, and it's good for us to try and stay ahead of it without constraining private enterprise, and this is a government bill. So, thank you.
Chair's going to call on council. The Association of County Commissioners asked for a clarification to members on line 65 and 66. One of the things that locals by December 31st of 27 would do is conduct an impact assessment prior to implementation. Good catch by the counties. They said if there's ongoing contracts, perhaps that are in place right now, that did not undergo that impact assessment, let those contracts be finished, and before a contract's renewed, go through an impact assessment, but don't put the counties out of compliance with this. If December 31st, 2027 comes and there's an impact assessment that wasn't done a year ago before implementation, I don't know that I'm concerned about that, but I do think it's fair to give them a clarification. I had council draw some language to make sure there's no unintended consequences with counties falling out of compliance or cities out of compliance. Would you be able to read that, council?
So
And
this will be added.
if you could pull your mic down. Okay.
This would be added at the end of line 66 as a new sentence. To the extent a system is provided pursuant to a contract, this subparagraph shall only apply to systems provided pursuant to contracts entered into or renewed after July 1st, 2025.
Thank you, council. I knew you could write it better than me. Could you read that one more time? Again, actually, if you could read the whole subparagraph D, so from A to Z.
Starting on line 65. Subparagraph D, the manner in which such system underwent an impact assessment prior to implementation. To the extent a system is provided pursuant to a contract, this subparagraph shall only apply to systems provided pursuant to contracts entered into or renewed after July 1, 2025.
And I'm gonna look across the room to my ACCG counterpart. Does that sound like it meets your needs? Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of the committee to that amendment? Would any members? I'll tell you. I'll take a motion. Once we get to a motion, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the amendment. Any further question? Is there a motion on final action on Senate House Bill 147? Chair recognizes Senator Wicks for a motion. You recognize? Is that a move due pass?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion due pass by Senator Wicks. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Any amendments? Does anyone want to move the amendment the council read?
I'll move
Okay.
to adopt that.
Motion on the amendment the council read, friendly amendment. Do I have a second? Got a motion and a second. Is there any objection to the adoption of the amendment? Any objection? Hearing none, the amendment's adopted. So we have House Bill 147, LC 590161S, by committee substitute. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of sending it forward with a due pass, recommendation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Is that 3-1? Okay. Appreciate your time, and we stand adjourned.